What's up, everyone? Welcome back to this episode of At Home on the Yard, the show where we bring the real stories from athletes, leaders, and visionaries shaping their communities beyond the game. Now, today's guest is someone who truly embodies that mission. She's not just an incredible volleyball athlete, she's a leader, a brand builder, and someone who's setting a whole new standard for NIL. Reagan Jones is here with us today. She's part of the first ever One2Gration All-American NIL Host class, where she's taking full ownership of her brand, her message, and her future. But that's not all. She's also launching something big. We'll talk about how she's navigating NIL the right way, the importance of mind, body, and spirit in sports, and why she created her podcast, Head in the Game with Reagan Jones. If you're an athlete looking to build your brand with intention, a sponsor searching for authentic partnerships, or just someone who believes in the power of mental strength and purpose-driven success, this one is for you. Let's get into it. Reagan, welcome to the show.
Hi.
We did it. We made it, Reagan. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Listen, in post-production, you saw what we was up against. The internet monster was upon
Yes.
us. And so
Mhm.
uh we are going to have to get AT&T a mouthful here soon, but as of right now, we have shifted the energy. We're putting
Mhm.
our head in the right space. We're going to talk
Yes.
about how important that is. Let me just say, I'm feeling really, really good. I'm really glad to have you here on At Home on the Yard with us today.
I'm glad to be here.
Fantastic, fantastic. So before we jump in, I do want to make sure I'm not disrespecting in any way the vast accomplishments that you have that we should share with our audience. And so I do want to make sure that I capture them. You could also find these on, I believe this is our host page on One2Gration. This is where I'm reading this from. But I want to make sure that I capture this right. So this says here, amongst other significant accolades, being the 2024 Player of the Year. You were named by the Historically Black College and University Athletic Conference. You have a spot on the 2024 NAIA All-American team and the 2024 AVCA Women's All-American Honorable Mention team. Reagan, how does this tell? I don't even know which question to ask. Just tell me how that feels. That's what matters most.
It's so funny because s- sometimes I forget that I have all of these accolades. For me, volleyball is just something I do. And even when the awards came out, I was like, "Oh, I kind of forgot these awards are coming out." So sometimes it flies right over my head, and it's still very surreal to me that, I have accomplished these accolades, because it just hasn't always been easy. And so being able to have that on my list of accomplishments is amazing. I'm so thankful, and I'm thankful for all the people, my teammates, my coaches, my family, my friends, everybody for supporting me.
We're going to talk about kind of the why we're here,
Mhm.
and kind of how we got here. Well, let's just jump in there. Let's flow in that direction. So, uh, from your perspective, tell us about how you came to be a part of the first uh, One2Gration All-American NIL host class.
Well, I had received a call from Jeff one day. I was actually on the bus on the way to a game, and I'm sitting there on the phone with Jeff, and I don't know what I expected when I called you. I think I was just surprised, and I was like, "Oh, wow, that's amazing, amazing opportunities." Um, and just getting to represent something bigger than myself, but also representing myself in a way that's authentic to me and who I am, and being able to build my own personal brand within One2Gration.
I I have to say from my end, I'd been dreaming about having an opportunity to work with the right purpose-driven um, uh, young athletes, young people,
Mhm.
for quite some time, and there's a lot to the things that I dream, and so to have the opportunity to be trusted with someone that we just read those accolades, those are all real. Um, those are not made up. Those are things that you can search the Google web, and that's not just like some chat GPT type of thing. Those are
Right.
real things. And so to now be able to now say, okay, for me, what I do is art. And so um I know that I have to make it fit into certain boxes in certain places. But to now have your body of work and your vision in partnership with One2Gration to go out and deliver whatever it is that you're dreaming, that's really what we're about. We're about supporting purpose. And so kudos to you for uh, having that piece together. I mean, I couldn't do that. Like the call was easy.
Mhm.
Like I've been told that Jeff, you are to support the purpose of others, and so, boom, like I can't bring your purpose to the game. You have to bring that, and that's what you're doing. So kudos to you, and
Mhm.
especially at such a young age. Before we jump into NIL, I do want to touch on. You had some time to sit down with One2Gration during homecoming. And
Yes.
I'd love for you to share a bit about that experience and tell us kind of what that at that point when you were able to see that type of interaction, what that did to kind of how you thought about what the art of the possible was.
Mhm. So during homecoming at Fisk, I got to sit down and talk to Dr. Roz, which we love Dr. Roz. Shout out to Dr. Roz. We got to sit down together and focus on the mentorship program within At Home on the Yard. And so getting to sit down with somebody who is in the realm of psychology and already in the space that I'm pursuing within One2Gration of mental health advocacy and just overall wellness, is it was so amazing to sit down with her. And that was like the first glimpse of like getting to share my story through One2Gration and using my platform to share my story. So, and then even further elaborating upon the idea of mentorship and how important it is for students my age to have older mentorships to have, and just being able to pass down that legacy, especially through Fisk, just because Fisk, amazing school, amazing connections. Everywhere you go, there's a Fiskite. So, just being able to embrace those connections even more was a big focus of sitting down with Dr. Roz.
For me, um, I view everybody as almost like a customer because again, I'm supposed to support the purposes. And so Dr. Roz, an amazing uh, light that
Hmm.
if you don't know, you will know, because that's what we're here for, is to make sure that people can see the amplified version of whoever wants to, kind of work in purpose. We're here for you. We're ready. It's kind of what this is about. But Dr. Roz has been doing that in the DC metro area, lights out. I think I saw something one day where it was like Dr. Roz's 20th annual da 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 da, and I was like, like that's crazy. She's like, you know, celebrating the 20th annual of something. That shows the dedication and commitment to her craft and to her community. And
Hmm.
and she's there in DC, and she when I reached out to her to say, hey, to say to her, hey, look, I have this project that I'm working on. What she told me was that she wanted to work on a mentorship program. And so the mentorship program idea was kind of something that I already had on the back burner. But we had someone who was willing to say, yeah, I want to step into that, and I want to have that conversation, if you will.
Mhm.
In that same conversation, I was able to share with her, some of the details about what you and I talked about your dreams
Mhm.
around being a medical doctor and sports psychology and things like that.
Mhm.
And she started to it was like a natural connection. And so
Mhm.
we look to be able to make more of those connections on an even uh, macro level. Of course, we start at home on the yard, but we move and we expand, because this is something that through technology there is no bounds. And
Mhm.
so to have Dr. Roz, to have Reagan Jones, All-American, be able to be a mental health advocate here with us at One2Gration, yeah, I'll take that. I think I think I can do something with that on behalf of humanity, along with their purpose. We can go out and we can build something king
Mhm.
like. We can do that. And so let's jump into it, because one of the things that I heard very, very loud and clear early on was how you felt about you and how you're represented. Can you share a little bit about uh, some of those things that were shared with me in preparation for being able to support you?
So, something that I emphasized, as well as my parents, also having the support of them behind me, was just having a place where I can be authentically myself and I'm not being, forced into things I don't really want to do or things I'm not interested in or anything like that. And just making sure that I can be represented in a way that glorifies God, and being able to have a platform that's faith driven for me, and just a place to share my story in the most authentic and purest way possible. Um, and my parents were very supportive of that, and just being authentic. I think that's like the key word for me when I was talking to Jeff, starting this whole thing up, was just being authentic um, in how I represent myself on this platform.
I think that was something that resonated really, really well with me. I had gone through my own um, journey of exploring, like, really, how was I going to show up in spaces going forward. Um, you know, the way that I had done so, looking back, I didn't feel like that was a way that I was being guided to do so going forward. And so I know how important it is to be able to be authentic. That's what this is about. I think that the challenges that I faced was really because I wasn't being accepted to be me. And so, what I heard in response to that was, okay, well, Jeff, you just should go be you. And
Mhm,
so for me, being me is saying, let's support others, let's bring them in, let's have, like, okay, Jeff knows technology and knows this and likes to do these things. Okay, what do you like to do? Okay, well, this is how I can support you. Oh, I also
mhm,
like to build business, and I like to be able to create strategic partnerships. Let's do that if anyone's interested in that. And so that's what I heard you guys saying. So if if I could ask, from your perspective, when you look at NIL athletes, how was this opportunity different from other opportunities that you have seen, been exposed to, or been offered? What has this experience been like versus those?
I feel like in this NIL opportunity specifically, like I said, I'm able to authentically be myself, and the content that I'm pushing is things that I feel comfortable and confident in, things that I approve of. And a lot of it is honestly like I'm the boss almost. And, I have the One2Gration team to help me and support me in whatever ways I need it. And I think being a student athlete at the collegiate level, having a lot of wiggle room and like having a community that supports you where you don't have to always make every single piece of content by yourself. Sometimes it's just, you know, hey, I have games, I have a lot of homework, I'm coming up on midterms. I don't have time to go and edit things. I don't have time to go and, post things. And with One2Gration, I feel like I can put as little or as much attention into it as I want. And as long as I have that camera rolling, something's going to come out of it. Um, and I think having that freedom of, I can do as much or as little as I need to is a weight lifted off for compared to most NIL opportunities. Um, and I think in that it's such a blessing. And like I said, just even my first piece of content, it was just I didn't even tell Jeff. I just started recording
Yeah.
and I sent it over to him and I was like, "Hey, I did this." And next thing you know, we were on it and it was posted. So having that was a huge thing for me that is significantly different from other NIL opportunities that athletes could be offered. Um, yeah.
It's funny because I'm really big on flow. Like it's cool.
Mhm.
Like it's all time and it's gonna be perfect. And when you send it over, it was like nobody, as far as I know, nobody knows what Jeff is doing in whatever world Jeff is in. so, so I spent a lot of time just like my wife used to say, "You're always on your phone. You're always on your phone." I'm like, man, this phone is like my studio, my art studio. I am creating with this thing. Like, don't you
Right.
see the stuff coming around you? It came started between the phone and here. And
The thought
so
bubbles.
yeah, and so, like, you, like, sent that in, shoo, I was like, "Ooh, fantastic," and it was like, the way I think about it, what we created, I was looking at it earlier today when I was trying to find the folders, and we can show it here, in a moment if the folders will and the internet will comply, but when I was thinking about it, I couldn't find in the folders because I have a process in the system that I usually follow. And not everything fits into a system until you understand the person's flow. And so that was a part of your flow. And I was like, okay, I need to fit this into the system. However, I'm inspired to be Tech P by what energy I'm receiving. So let me go ahead and just do what I do from my device. And so for you, everything that I've heard, and I asked the question two different ways, but what I was trying to get to is how particular you are. And so so
Yes.
so think about working with an artist, and the artist has to meet the need of the person who's particular, but the artist has to create as well. And so I was a little bit iffy on how I would get through that part, but I always felt like we would land in a good place. Tell me about what that felt like to see the iteration back and forth and what came of that.
Mhm. So, first of all, immediately when I sent it, I just sent it over, and Jeff was on it in seconds. I get a response back immediately, and he's cooking up something in his little studio over there, and he sent me over multiple drafts, and I'm like he said, I'm very particular, very detail oriented, and anybody in my life will tell you that. um so for me, I felt like it was an honest and open space for me to, you know almost correct things that I want fixed. And so we went back and forth, like, several times, and he sent me over like four drafts, and I was like, wait, can you change this? Or can you do this? Can you tweak this a little bit? I don't like the way that looks, or whatever it is. It's so,
Well, one of them was
uh,
pretty major, though. One of them was pretty major that you caught that I didn't catch.
yes. Yes.
So
But
I'll go ahead and tell on myself. So when I create, sometimes like the art is the art. And so I was cooking up some stuff and then I looked at it and I was like, man, something looks different about that. But that's the art. That's what it came out. So let me send it over to her. And the response back was like, can I say this? And I was like, sure, what's up? And she was saying things, and I was like, what are you talking about? Because in my mind, what she was saying really didn't exist. What was it? How did we finally get to the point where I understood that your head was cut off?
I think it was something to the extent of like it was cropped. Like I was like, it's just cropped and you can't see the whole frame.
Oh, that's what it was. I was just watching through the like preview pane, and she was telling me this, and through the preview pane, sometimes it doesn't show the whole thing, but it's playing, and there's no hiccups or whatever. And then finally, I popped it open. I was like, "Let me watch this," and then her head is like cut off from here, going up. Yeah, yeah, I can change that. Yeah,
But even with that, it was like, quick fixes. It was draft after draft after draft until I liked what came out. And I think that's the beauty of it, that I can be particular and I can be detail oriented with Jeff, and just put my 2 cents in. And it's collaborative versus, I'm just Jeff and his organization as my NIL opportunity are just taking it and throwing what they want out there. They're throwing things out there that I approve of and that I have collaborated on them with. So it was a really good process. Honestly, a lot easier than I thought it would be. And I think it just happened so quick and so easy that I'm like, oh, we're done. I can post it
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. And I think one of the ways that I create is really, I view that as almost like a model or a mock. And
Mhm.
so once we get the mock set, the proof set, then I can build systems around being able to support and deliver. I mean, I think there's a huge opportunity in with everything that's going on in the world, and we're focused on uh, something that's bigger than just sports. For
Mhm.
you, let's kind of jump into that. Let's for you, why this topic, and why was this the thing that you chose to do?
Mhm. So for me, I think mental health has been a huge part of my journey and part of the reason why I ended up at Fisk and why I have accomplished all these accolades. Um, so being able to be on the other side of it, and I think mental health also isn't a linear journey. It never just ends. It just, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. And for me, I think that it's important just in my mental health journey showing like what it really is, because there's no need to put a filter on it, no need to hide anything, because what I've gone through, as well as other athletes or just other people in general go through, is very, very real. And so for me, just being able to share my story and find people that relate to me that I can help and inspire and empower in the realm of mental health advocacy is so, so important to me, and is the main reason why I decided to partner with Jeff, just because, I can authentically push this out, and, you know, this is what I feel like my calling is right now at this time in my life. So being able to pursue that calling in a way that, represents me in a way that is just so authentic and real is so important to me in this process. So that's why mental health has been like a huge part and the reason I chose this topic to begin with.
So would you like to share with the audience the name of your project and
Yeah.
why that is the name that you chose?
Yes, yes, yes. So, going back to the process of creating with Jeff, and we're going back and forth, trying to decide on a name for the podcast itself, and we're going back and forth, and we have these ideas that we're throwing out. And I was sitting on the couch with my mom, and I'm telling her these ideas, and she looked at me and she was like, "What about head in the game?" And I was like, "I really like that one." And I think that, so obviously the title is Head in the Game. Um, the reason why I chose that is because I feel like Head in the Game, it covers all areas of being an athlete, and the mental part, the physical part, whether that's nutrition, recovery, um, training, conditioning. Then you have the mental side of it, that's, your mindset, your confidence, all those things that all entail with having your head in the game. Um, and so just being able to have an umbrella of things that I can put under there that isn't just because it's not just about mental health. Mental health also has a lot to do with a lot of other areas in what you eat, your exercise, all those things, your support system, the people that you have around you, um, taking time to have self care for yourself, and taking advantage of the little free time that we get as athletes. Um, so that was, I feel like that name encompasses everything that I am striving to put out there and put into the world. So,
So, but there's also 3 words that go along with the title.
hmm
Let's talk a bit about those 3 words.
so the 3 words are mind, body, and spirit. So mind obviously entails of, your mindset, your mental health, um, all those things, your confidence, um, body, which entails of, physical training, conditioning, nutrition, recovery, all those things. In spirit, um, just having that faith driven aspect of this overall mission that I'm trying to pursue, and just taking care of your soul and your spirit is so important. And so, um, those 3 terms really key into, what head in the game is all about.
For me, my job on the One2Gration side of the team and I is really about, we focus on the purpose, and then it's our job to make sure that we properly brand the purpose so that you will have that if you choose as a platform to do whatever. Like you said, you're being called to do this right now. Whenever something else should change, if ever, or you decide to bring other things on, then there is head in the game, mind, body, and spirit. How does that fit into that vision for you to now build upon? And so it's it again, for me, without you having done the work and had the lived experiences, one of the things that we talked about earlier, prior to um, prior to starting to film, was about the reality that there are tough times and challenges that happen, but they're also necessary to actually understand and get whatever the lesson is on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the reasons why, when you said, okay, yeah, this is what I want to do, podcast, head in the game, I'm like, okay, not only is she creating, which means she gets to express herself. To me, I express myself in multiple ways, but the arts is one, creating podcasts is one, technology is one. That's why I say everything is art for me. But you're doing that as well. And you're also um, doing something that I think is like bullseye. You're taking that experience and you're saying to others, I'm going to use that to now create space for you all to have access to the resources when your challenge comes, because it's going to come. It has to.
Mm-hmm.
It has to. If one lives the entire life without challenges, then I am going to have some other questions.
Right. A
And so
lot of
that's
other
what,
questions.
yeah, yeah. So and there are people on this plane that have lived without much challenge. But my question for those people, I don't think they have a high success rate of going to the other side in a favorable
Mhm.
position. And so we know for those of us who are going to choose to live a certain type of life that we must prepare ourselves to be the owners of our overall, not just wellness first, but then second brand. And so um, I anticipate that if we do our best job, that there will be a few brands that would be interested in learning more about uh, why and how they can partner with Reagan. Like, what do you, how do you think about who and why you would want to partner with someone in a potential brand?
Mhm. So, like I said, I think that the biggest emphasis is being able to authentically be myself. And I think that brands that want a person who is authentically displaying themselves in social media, just because it is rare that we display our real selves on social media, but that's kind of the goal and the purpose of heading the game. Um, and I think that's in all areas. It can stem from, mental health services, wellness services, um, recovery, nutrition, any type of, bars or protein shakes or whatever it is, um, active wear, um, fitness, all the things. And I think there's such a huge possibility for anybody that is interested in, putting their product or service out there in a way that um, is going to be authentically displayed to the world, So,
I have some ideas. I always do. Um,
yes, you
and
do.
and so, as I'm listening to you talk, really what I'm hearing is we want to partner, and this is just in general. Like one of the reasons why we're so well aligned is we want to partner with uh, those forward thinking people, brands, sponsors that want to show who they are and why in the areas that are forward thinking. And so
Mhm.
for Reagan, it's through a mind, body, and spirit lens, which I totally understand, and I believe there's large opportunity there. It's really about at the end of the day making sure that if you are interested in being your best self, you have a place to turn and coming to check out how to make sure that you're checking in to see what Reagan is doing and what she's offering. This is the opportunity for sponsorships and brand partners. And Reagan's going to be sharing with you and sharing with us through One2Gration and all other social channels, like what she is doing to stay ahead. Reagan, what is spring volleyball looking like right now? By the way, we hadn't even talked about that side of the house.
Right.
Give us an update.
So spring has been pretty busy for us with Fisk volleyball. I think even from when I came in previously last spring, we've upped the game 10 times more. We're in the gym twice as much, always putting the work in. And I think for me, it's been about preparing for the next season, going into the fall, which is prime volleyball season. And, you know, just focusing on my mindset. And I think because um, I have achieved all these accolades, I think creating my mind as a place that keeps me grounded and a place that keeps me calm is very important going into next season. Um, and I mean, there's so many exciting things for Fisk volleyball coming up. We have a lot of recruits, a lot of commits that have committed here recently. So it's just so much to look forward to. I'm so excited. And, I think spring season has been amazing, just like sitting down with my teammates, setting goals, setting standards for ourselves within the program, um, and just, establishing that culture and the culture that we want to leave with us once it's all over at the end of the day. And we want to win that championship next season. So, we're putting in the work outside of the gym, and that all goes back to, my nutrition, what I'm doing outside of volleyball, how I'm taking care of myself, spending time with the people I love and care about, um, and just creating a space for myself to do that in a way that makes me the best version of me that I can be. So I think that's my focus going into next season.
There was a great demonstration, impromptu, the way I saw it, of why you would want to partner in all of the opportunities of where Reagan can support different initiatives that align with exactly what she just shared, because she shouldn't be focusing on anything outside of that. That is, that's the flow. That's the system for Reagan. And so if someone wants to be able to fit into that, every now and again, we're going to have a drip of content that we create. It's probably going to be a little bit more than now and then based off of the visions that we have. But you too can actually be a part of it. And so we will, in closing, share where that is. Reagan, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience at home on the yard before we wrap today?
I just like to share. I'm so excited. I'm so thankful for Jeff for giving me this opportunity. And just, letting me be the boss woman of my own brand and, creating a space for me to be me. And, um, I think another special thing is that my parents have been very involved in the process of like what it looks like creating this for me. And so being able to have Jeff, bring my parents in, is very important. And just the creativity of Jeff is endless. Like there are so many ideas and I can just, bring something to him. He has a million ideas about it and it's amazing. And I think that the sky is the limit here. And, I'm just really excited about, what's going to come up in the future with One2Gration and my partnership with them. So that's all I got.
Fantastic. Where can the people find, connect, tune into Head in the Game? Oh, should we show them before we jump? You think let's
Yeah.
let's see if this works. Give me one second, guys. Give me one second. The internet has not been kind. Let's see. Tester. Testing. So this is One2Gration with social media. We won't give the internet too much of a test here. You guys can see that. Can you hear me okay still?
We can hear
Okay.
you.
All right. That worked. That click worked. All right. And so inside of here, there's two spaces today that Reagan is playing a role in. And one of them would be the space where we're hosting this podcast today at home on the yard. Here you can see Reagan here as we announced something and another about her being Conference Player of the Year. And then also with Head in the Game being focused on mental health, you can find it in the Resocial Wellness space of One2Gration, where you could also see that piece of content that we created. Let's check it out. Fingers crossed, internet.
get ready with me for our first spring match of the 2025 season with Fisk University Volleyball. Here I am getting ready, and I did a light makeup look. For my hair, I decided to do a slick back today, and then I quickly made my bed, went to get lunch, and drove to the gym. Thanks for watching, guys.
There it is. We did it. We did it. So
You did
I
it.
wrote this down. I wrote this down when you were just speaking. And this is what I want to make sure that I say because I wrote it and I didn't want to want it to get away from me. It says it is important to know how it feels to be yourself. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's important to know how it feels to be yourself. It feels good to be
Mm-hmm.
yourself. It
Yes.
should. Okay. The reason why it's important is, and I wrote this, and I can say it in other words, but I said it's important so that you know when you're being played.
Mm-hmm.
And so the reason why that is important is because from a mental health perspective, we have to be the authors of our own, what some people will call ego. I'll say self-identity. Ego is nothing more than what you feel about yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
so sometimes that can get a little unhealthy. That's true. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it can be very, very healthy. And so it is not, I should say this, it is mandatory that one feel good about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It is not optional that you feel good about yourself. And so that's one of the things that in this, when I was thinking about engaging and building out this opportunity, um, it's took time and investment and creative energy, and really, for me, you can see the desire. We here it is, it's right here. We can touch it, it's tangible. But it was because I remember when they played me and they were trying to make me feel like I was crazy or
Mm-hmm.
that I couldn't do or I couldn't be or whatever the case is. And one day everyone will be tried. And so Reagan, I believe my goal from her experiences with One2Gration and all the projects that we're doing today, this is At Home on the Yard, um, is that she'll know, well, that feels different than what it felt like when I was working with other people who were embracing me and my purpose and allowing me to be the boss of my brand, because that's
Mm-hmm.
really what life is about. And so thank you for joining, Reagan. Again, thank you for putting the work in. Thank you for representing the warm and genial setting sun, the altar, dear old gold and blue. I got my I love Fisk button on. To
Oh
everyone
yeah.
out there, this is it. At Home on the
Thanks
Yard.
for having me.
Hey, listen, this is just the beginning. Tell everyone when we think, not when we are, but when we feel we might have the first episode ready for them to check out.
I don't want to give too much away.
Okay, we're
Um,
not ready. Or what are we?
hmm,
Just a little bit. What are you thinking?
I would say probably in the next month.
Good goal. I like that. I
Mm-hmm.
like that. I'm gonna say if she says a month, then it's gonna take me a little time after that. So we're looking at, this is March, right around Easter. It's a new season.
Oh yeah.
It'll be the real new year. So we'll be
Mm,
we'll be we'll be ready to go around Easter. I think that's a great. And maybe at that time we didn't touch much on the logo. We got to touch back on
yeah.
We got to touch back on that, but not today. This has been an episode of At Home on the Yard. I am Jeff McKinney, class of 2002. She is Reagan Jones, all-world volleyball player. Until next time.